Hello, Sharif here. And today we're going to continue our series on looking at our spiritual future and looking at how that's not particularly different from our practical future. For many of us, we've been trained that our spiritual life is over here, and we do this weird ritual stuff over here. And then over here, we've got our practical life. And the value structures of these two aspects of our lives are completely in conflict with each other. And so we do the spiritual stuff on Sunday or Saturday or Friday. And then you do all this other stuff every other day of the week. Okay. Of all the things that need to change in our inside of our chrysalis here, um, I think that's one of the most important things. I think that our spiritual life and our practical life has to have to come together, and we're going to talk about what that means. But the first thing that needs to come together for us, I think, is our meditation. We've been doing this and slowly creeping up to 5 minutes, I think. We're going to do 4 minutes today. There's no particular reason why I'm limiting it other than um, I want to let you know in advance how long we're going to be going. And I don't, I don't want people just saying, "Oh, it's going to be 5 minutes. Let me just fast forward the video for 5 minutes and then um, keep going." I want this to be something that you actually are going to be practicing. Okay. So as usual, I've got my timer all ready to go here, and I'm going to be inviting you to enter into your meditation space. Close your eyes if you are comfortable doing that. Center yourself in yourself. Let's do a really big breath in together and then back out. Breath in together. And then sigh as it comes out. Make sure your body is balanced. Make sure that you're relaxed. Make sure your heart is relaxed. You're connected with all other beings. And as you are ready, come back to center, open your eyes, and let's begin. Um, that was the world's quickest 4 minutes. I guess that's the universe telling me that we're ready for 5. Um, I want to talk to you about a few things today. And again, on this theme of looking at our practical future, but also looking at our spiritual future, looking at how um, through this shift in consciousness, through this holonic consciousness, we can start achieving both the practical reality of how do we govern our own personal lives and how do we govern the lives of others for the good of the whole, and how do we open the doors to a deeper, a broader, and a more transcendent reality. um, it's weird that I'm going to start talking about our future by talking about our past, but some of you know that how I do my work. I have 2 screens in front of me right now. This is the screen where the monitor is on, and that's where the action is. And then I have another screen right over there, and that's where if I'm reading something or doing something else, that's where the something else happens. And as you know, we're in the final rounds of the book right now. I'm right on target for a mid month launch, the month of June of this year. Yes. um, but in order to do the work, when I start working on something that I find creative, I start thinking about it. And when I start thinking about it, I can get lost in the thought, which means I'll be thinking about uh, the history of democracy, for example, and I'll look and I'll see that 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour's gone by, and this is just something I want to think about for a couple of minutes. So I have to have something that brings me back regularly to, like, I don't want to put too much time into any one of these thoughts. So what I wind up doing is taking a YouTube video I don't particularly care anything about, not something that's really interesting or something going to really get me engaged. It's just I bounce back and forth between 2 screens, and I get a lot of work done that way. I'm up to page 157, I think, out of my 200 pages of editing by doing that. And one of the things I'm bounce back and forth with is, and I'm telling you this, Cole, I'm encouraging you to take a look at it also. Um, go to YouTube and put in the word retrofuturism. And I'm going to put that word in the in our comment box here. If so, put in the word retrofuturism. There it goes. And what it is, it's a bunch of commercials about the future from the point of view of the past. So back in 1930 or 1940, what were people talking about in terms of the future of 1970 or 1980? Most of it is really funny. Some of it is actually scary, but almost all of the future, all of our present was created back in that time frame. So the question is, uh, how are we how are we right now creating the future of 2050? I'm suggesting a couple of things to you. Number one, we're not. Number one, most of us are sitting by passively waiting for someone else to create that future for us. And when you start looking at retrofuturism, we can see that that future was created by General Motors, General Electric, IBM. These are the folks who were thinking about our future. And we are the folks that were sitting there with our hands folded, saying, oh, yes, I'll take two of those and one of those and three of those. I don't think I want any of those. And we were the consumers. We were the people who just sat around consuming. Okay. And I want us to be more than consumers. I want us to be more than reactors. Um, I want us to be asking and answering the question, what does this thing look like? What does the baby look like? What is it that we can that we are looking for our own future? Now we are going to know when we're on target, when we start getting attacked, when people say, "Oh no, this is like communism," or "This is like what's worse than communism? Uh, Anything we're not thinking about." And so, yeah, we're making too many deals with communists nowadays. Um, so our challenge is, um, how do we envision our reality? That is not what we've got right now, not the reality that's grinding up the planet right now. I was going to tell you one more thing before I get launched here, and I better get launched soon because time is flying. Um, da-da-da-da. Oh, so this is a this is something from the website of the World Economic Forum, um, uh, and it's called Visions for 2030. And let me get this up to you. Da, 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 da. Okay, so there is a link for you to take a look at. And this is you remember wiffle ball? The wiffle ball is this plastic ball that had these strange holes in it that would make sure that the ball didn't go too fast. And if you hit the ball, um, the it didn't go too far. And this is like for the non-athletic kids like me. This is one of the things that you get your plastic bat and your plastic ball, and you would go around hitting your ball. Now, the the reason so this World Economic Forum agenda on the future, on the visions for 2030, are the visions that they can think about. All the things that are the problem, we'll just push them over here. Okay. Um, One of the visions is we can reduce violence by half by 2030. Like can cut violence in half. Actually, it's not too hard. Okay. The hard part is the other half. The cutting violence and the people among people who don't really want to be violent. Yeah, it's not too hard. Our challenge is the sticky part, getting rid of the last part of poverty, getting rid of the last part of violence, getting rid of the last part of um, our extractive, wasteful, greedy behaviors. And so um, the challenge is how do we um, how do we see the real problems? I'll see if I can put this up real quick. And it's not in my slides, so I'll do it some other time. But you'll remember the wheel that I put up last time, and it may be over here, where I talked about the 12 global challenges, and it's right here. So let's do this. Share my screen with you. Okay. So the 12 global challenges, the 12 things that every human being experiences on our planet right now to some extent. When you look at the World Economic Forum article, which I suggest you do, keep this in mind. Okay, keep the 12 global challenges in mind, because when you start seeing how few of them we deal with, that article deals with, how few of them we even think about, and how we think about it in these, I want to say almost cutesy terms, okay? Um, um, you know, the uh, yeah, let's get mobile phones to the masses. Oh yes, that's a great idea. It's like, yeah, but where's that fit on these 12 global challenges? Um, when I was working with Sarvodia in Sri Lanka, one of the biggest big projects of the rural technical services projects was lighting inside of the house. There's no electricity, no lights at the when the sun goes down, and the big problem with that is cobras come inside your house where it's nice and warm, and you're walking around in the dark, and you might just happen to step on a cobra. I don't recommend that, by the way. And so we're talking practicality, okay? Like how is that part of our practical futures? Now, I said though that we're also going to talk about spirituality, and one of the things that I've talked about a great deal is how our spirituality is talking about spirituality is not like talking about your religion, that when we talk about religion, we almost immediately go into mine is different from yours, and yours is different from mine, and I'm going to go this way, and you're going to go that way. When we talk about spirituality, that's the place where we can start to come together. We can start bringing these elements together, and so the challenge that we've got is in this context where we get really twitchy around our religion. Can we? And I don't want to say let that go. Can we put this over to the side and recognize that in our general conversations, that's not something we're going to talk about, but our pathway to the divine, our pathway of how we experience the divine is open for conversation. I've talked about how the churches in England are getting, well, this is not just in England, this is everywhere. The churches get more and are getting emptier and emptier as people look elsewhere for their spiritual food. And these young kids are going into teenagers going into the church in the afternoons when they're having the afternoon prayers, and instead of sitting there participating, with your hymnal in your hand, standing up, they would lie down on the pews, and they'd stare up at the stained glass windows, and they'd be listening to the music and the incense. It's just a total experience. And the church folks would run them out because you're not experiencing the church the way that we want you to experience the church. We're not telling you how to experience. We need to be the ones that are that determine how we do these things. I'll give you one more experience, then I'll run out of time. Okay. And actually, this is one of the things that we'll be talking about in our future, because how we structure this time right here, because I'm finding that 30 minutes is just not adequate to talk about a particular subject, a particular concept. But as we're talking today about our spiritual expression, there were again, this is another Sri Lankan experience. There are in Sri Lanka, the Buddhists are majority. The Hindus are the next largest religious group, and then the Muslims are third. Christians are not a whole lot of Christians on the island. The Christians are fourth. And there's a ritual where the Hindu men will literally put these meat hooks into their own backs and will pull this heavy, they call it a chariot. It's basically like a 2-story house on wheels. And they pull this around the streets. Well, when you've got hundreds and hundreds of men pulling it, it's not that hard. But when you don't have that many men trying to pull it, it can be downright impossible. And so some of the Buddhists and some of the Muslims would say, hey, stick the hooks in my back. I'll help you pull your chariot. And not for any reason other than, no, I'm watching. I got nothing else to do. I'm just gonna do this. So the idea of having cross religious activities, the religious leaders at the top say, no, 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 you can't do that. That's sacrilegious. That is, you'll go to hell if you pull that chariot. It's like, yeah, let's just pull in a chariot. So the issue that we are facing is how in this world where we are experiencing spiritual starvation, and that's a term that I use in my book, Creating a World That Works for All. When you are experiencing spiritual starvation, and we know what that looks like. The empty people we see walking around our streets, we call it mental illness. There's nothing wrong with their head. There's no amount of talking to them, no amount of counseling you can give them that's going to straighten them out. What's going to straighten them out is for us to have a society where people actually feel that they can belong. People can actually feel that they are a part of it. People can actually feel that my contribution to this society matters in some way, that I'm connected to my future, I'm connected to my present. I'm actually addressing those 12 global challenges in all that we are doing. It's interesting. I feel like all that is to set the stage for me to be able to talk about our spirituality and our religion. I'm sorry, our spirituality devoid of religion and our practical lives here. And gee whiz, our half an hour's gone. So we're going to get into this one more time on Friday, when I'm going to start talking about our our practical spirituality and our inclusive spirituality, how we do things together. Um, we do the meditation is one thing. The meditation is something that comes from a number of different religious traditions, but it also comes from a number of different spiritual traditions. So I'm going to, for those of you who have to go at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to say, okay, bye. But I'm going to go another 5 or 10 minutes here because I want to give you some news of what's happening in our immediate future for the next month with regard to this live stream here. Number one, we're going to go another month. Yay! For those who want to see it, and oh my God, I got to put it with this. For those who don't, that's called a joke. And I've invited a number of folks who have been following the live stream to help me think about how this is going to be packaged and maybe repackaged. I'm very thoughtful about things like time and scope and things like that. I'm very conscious on how to deal with comments, etc. I see that John has put a number of comments up on subjects that I am very um, close to, um, and for those of you who are interested in terms of looking at what predicts our future, we can uh, do a number of uh, sessions around that. One of the things that I'm sorry, I think I have to do this this way. I've never done this before, so I'm pushing new buttons here. Okay. So here we go. Um, John says other intelligence agencies study the novels of Philip K. Dick to predict the future. One of the ones that used to predict the future of the police is Minority Report. It became a movie. Really good movie. And he also said that he talked about, do androids dream of electric sheep? And that becomes that became the basis of the movie Blade Runner. And the CIA studies this book. I am deeply not interested in what the CIA studies. Think of the number of times they've gotten the world wrong. They don't see what's right sitting right in front of their faces. From the Korean War to Vietnam to the fall of the Berlin Wall, okay, they've never gotten anything right. So why in the world am I interested in talking about them? I am, though, John, interested in talking about our future. I don't know if you have read my 2 volumes on the future. Volume number 1, The Chronicles of the Upheavals. Now, volume number 2, The Chronicles of the Awakening. And I'd still be writing volume number 3 sometime in the near future. It will not happen in the near future. I'm tired of writing. I will take a break from writing for at least 6 months, if not more. But in those 2 volumes, I go through the elements. I mean, just remember, Philip K. Dick was writing decades ago. He was not writing about the world that we're experiencing right now. He was, what's the word, prescient? I think he really did see the future. I think that I've read lots and lots of Philip K. Dick. Even though he's dead, he's one of Hollywood's most prolific writers. But I think that the Chronicles books, the Chronicles of the Upheavals and the Chronicles of the Awakening, go further. And that when the Chronicles of the Upheavals first came out, there were a number of people, when they got to the end of the book, toward the end of the book, they're like, "Oh my God, is that the future? I don't want that future." Yeah. And that's why it's in the book, for you to have a reaction to it, for you not to sit around and say passively, "Oh, well, I guess we got to put up with this. I guess we got to put up with that." It's like, no, let's think about what we want from our future, because just as soon as you say it, somebody else is going to come up with it. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to talk about that right now. That'll be something we actually talk about maybe next week or maybe 2 weeks or so from now. And I want to structure some things so that you know what's coming up and you know how it's coming up. So I hope to have for you next week, and a new, expanded, clarified way that we're going to be talking about things. I'd like to bring some of you um, actually into the conversation. I can push my magic buttons here, and you can be a guest on this. Um, I, if we can, as we do that, the number of voices goes up, and people can start asking me some questions like, "What do you mean by this?" and "How about if we do it that way," etc., to get us to recognize, um, while the future is not up to them, whoever them is, the future is also not just up to me. Um, listen, I wrote the book, the Chronicles book, specifically to say, how do you want to deal with food production? How do you want to deal with clean water? How do you want to deal with things um, that we're being affected by, and we're not? Nobody's asking you how to do this stuff. Well, I'm asking, and we're going to get ourselves aligned and realigned so that we can get all this stuff done. Okay, folks, I'm going to go. Um, I will. We'll talk about colony humans and how colony humans may satisfy our spiritual yearning next time. Okay. When I buy a little bit more time, I have this like, okay, I can talk about this. I can talk about this. No. I said it's only going to be between 5 and 10 minutes, and this is between 5 and 10 minutes. So I look forward to us talking about all this stuff more. And may all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. Thank you. And I will see